The movie, A House of Dynamite, is a tense political thriller about what happens when the world faces a sudden and unexplained nuclear threat. The story happens almost in real time, taking place over only a few hours. It focuses on three connected points of view: the White House officials trying to understand what is happening, the soldiers in a missile defense base trying to stop a possible attack, and the President of the United States, who must make an impossible choice that could decide the future of the planet. The movie's power comes from its simplicity. There are no huge battle scenes or long explanations about technology. Instead, the story is about fear, responsibility, and how human beings react when they are pushed to the edge of destruction. At the beginning, everything seems normal. The president and his staff are preparing for a busy day in Washington, D.C. Meetings are scheduled, reports are being written, and life moves calmly. At the same time, thousands of kilometers away, deep inside a U.S. missile defense base in Alaska, a small group of soldiers monitor global radar systems that watch the sky for any sign of a missile launch. One of these soldiers, Captain Olivia Walker, is professional and focused. She has worked in missile defense for years and believes in the system's ability to protect the country. She and her team joke quietly while drinking coffee. But then, the peace is broken when a small red dot appears on the radar screen. Something flying high above the Earth's atmosphere, moving too fast to be a normal aircraft or satellite. At first, they think it is an error, but within seconds, data from several satellites confirm the same thing. A ballistic missile has been launched, heading directly toward the United States. The soldiers freeze. One whispers, "This can't be real." But the alarm systems activate automatically. Red lights flash. The countdown begins. According to the radar, the missile will reach U.S. airspace in 18 minutes. Inside the White House, the first alert reaches the national security staff. Confusion spreads instantly. The duty officer rushes into the situation room with the words no one ever wants to hear. Possible inbound missile. Phones ring non-stop. Intelligence officers try to confirm the information through different systems: military radar, space tracking, allied satellites, to make sure it isn't a false alarm. The president's national security advisor, Ellen Rhodes, takes control of the emergency meeting. She demands calm, while the analysts check every possible explanation. Maybe a test launch went wrong. Maybe it's a radar glitch. Maybe it's real. Within minutes, they confirm that the missile exists. But no country has claimed responsibility. The launch doesn't match any known pattern from Russia, China, or North Korea. It seems to have come from somewhere in the Arctic Ocean, possibly from a submarine or an unknown base. That is what makes it terrifying. No one knows who fired it or why. Secret Service agents rush to secure the White House. The president is taken from the Oval Office to the underground situation room, where he meets with top generals and advisors. The nuclear football, the briefcase containing the launch codes, is brought in and placed beside him. The room feels cold and silent. Everyone knows that the world could be minutes away from ending. Back in Alaska, Captain Walker and her crew prepare to intercept the missile. Their base is one of the few that can launch anti-missile rockets fast enough to reach it before it enters the atmosphere. The soldiers move quickly, entering coordinates, checking targeting systems, and preparing the interceptors. Walker gives calm, clear orders, even though her hands shake. The crew launches 2 interceptor missiles. They watch on their screens as the interceptors rise into the upper atmosphere, chasing the red dot that represents the incoming threat. For a moment, there is hope. The interceptors close the distance, but suddenly the radar feed flashes an error message. One interceptor explodes too soon. The other misses by several kilometers. The incoming missile continues. The base falls into silence. Someone quietly curses. Walker closes her eyes, then orders preparations for a second attempt. In Washington, reports start coming in from intelligence agencies around the world. None of America's allies, not NATO, not Japan, not South Korea, know where the missile came from. The U.S. cannot confirm the origin. It could be a terrorist group using stolen technology or a rogue submarine. The president listens to conflicting advice. General Hanley, the head of Strategic Command, urges a quick response. If we don't strike back, we look weak. Ellen Rhodes argues the opposite. If we strike without proof, we might destroy the world. The president asks the hardest question. If we fire back, who do we aim at? No one answers. The debate becomes louder. One side says delay means death. The other says rushing could kill millions. The president remains quiet, listening. Then he looks at the clock. 13 minutes remain. The movie shows short scenes of people outside government buildings, families in Chicago going about their day, completely unaware that they might have only minutes left to live. A news reporter receives a mysterious message about a national defense alert, but nothing official is confirmed. Life continues as normal. In Alaska, Captain Walker speaks softly to her second-in-command, a young soldier named Mills. He admits he is terrified. She says, "So am I, but we still have a job." Her leadership keeps the team from falling apart. In Washington, the president calls his wife and daughter, who have already been taken to a secure bunker. His daughter asks, "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" The president pauses for a long time, unable to promise anything. Finally, he says, "I love you. Whatever happens, remember that." These moments remind the audience that behind the uniforms and titles, these are real people, all equally powerless in the face of nuclear destruction. Back at the Alaska base, the radar shows the missile getting closer. They only have one more chance to intercept before it enters the atmosphere. Walker gives the order to fire again. This time, they use a new targeting system and 2 interceptors launched in sequence. Everyone watches the green and red dots on the radar merge. A faint explosion appears on the screen. Then the data cuts out completely. They've lost contact with the radar satellites. No one knows if the missile was destroyed or still falling toward its target. Walker radios the Pentagon. Interception attempt complete. Confirmation unknown. Then she looks around at her exhausted crew. "We did everything we could," she says softly. In the Situation Room, the atmosphere is unbearable. The big screen shows a digital clock counting down the estimated time to impact. 10 minutes, then 8, then 5. Intelligence analysts keep trying to confirm what happened to the missile, but communication with the Alaska base is breaking down due to electromagnetic interference. No one can say if the missile was stopped. General Hanley insists that the president must order a retaliatory strike now. If we wait for confirmation, it will be too late. He argues that the launch might be the first shot in a larger war. Ellen Rhodes refuses. "It might also be an accident," she says. "If we respond wrongly, we'll kill millions for nothing." The president walks to the corner of the room, away from the shouting. He looks at the black briefcase. Then he whispers, "What if this is all a mistake? What if we're about to become the monsters we fear?" No one answers him. The only sound is the ticking clock. Television networks finally start reporting that a possible missile threat is heading toward the U.S. East Coast, though officials refuse to confirm. Panic begins in major cities. In Chicago, traffic jams fill the highways. People abandon cars and run, not knowing where safety is. Police try to keep order, but fear spreads faster than any explosion could. Inside the White House, the president must choose. If he launches a nuclear counterattack, it could mean the end of civilization. If he does nothing and the missile hits, millions of Americans will die. The weight of both choices crushes him. Ellen Rhodes looks at him and says quietly, "Sir, whatever happens, history will remember what you decide in the next 60 seconds." The military aide opens the nuclear football and hands the president the authorization card. The generals stand ready. The red phone connects to Strategic Command. "Mr. President," the general says over the line, "please confirm your launch order." The president hesitates. His hands shake. The clock reaches 1 minute to impact. Outside, sirens wail across Washington. Everyone in the room waits. Finally, the president begins to read the first code aloud. "Alpha, Charlie, 9. Suddenly, the communications officer interrupts. "We've lost radar contact with the target." Everyone freezes. "We don't have confirmation of impact or detonation." The president stops speaking. He lowers the card. The screen showing the countdown hits 0. There is total silence. The film does not show an explosion. The lights flicker slightly, but there is no shockwave, no sound. Some people gasp. Others begin to cry. No one knows whether the missile was intercepted, malfunctioned, or exploded somewhere else. The president sits back in his chair, exhausted. He looks around the room and whispers, "Did we just survive? Or did we just begin the end?" The screen fades to black before anyone answers. There are no closing explanations, no 10 years later scene. The film ends in complete uncertainty, leaving the audience to imagine whether the world was saved or destroyed. The title, A House of Dynamite, refers to the fragile state of our modern world. Humanity lives inside a house built of weapons powerful enough to erase life on Earth. Every nation promises that those weapons are only for protection. Yet one accident, one misunderstanding, could make the entire house explode. By showing leaders and soldiers as ordinary, frightened humans instead of perfect heroes, the movie makes its message stronger. The danger of nuclear war is not in evil people, but in human weakness, pride, fear, confusion, and the desperate wish to act quickly, even when we don't understand what's happening. The story of A House of Dynamite is not about who launched the missile or whether the U.S. survived. It is about the moment before the end, the moment when everything depends on human judgment. It reminds viewers that the line between peace and destruction is thinner than we think. The film asks us to consider how we would act if we had only minutes to save or destroy the world. In the end, it leaves us with silence, because silence is the most honest answer. When the movie ends, you realize that the real explosion isn't the missile. It's the fear, the uncertainty, and the weight of human decisions under pressure.